Okay, we next on our agenda we have from the Talbot County Senior Center. We have Director Childlene Brooks. She's here to recap where we left off with the FY16 budget from Upper Shore Aging. Ms. Brooks, good to see you. I think you have some new information you want to pass on to council.
Yes, I do. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come. First of all, I just want to, I guess, apologize to all of you for the negative press that this issue has raised. It's not our intention to, well, we didn't do it, but we feel like we're responsible for it, and we just want to apologize. We know the council has been very supportive of everything we've asked for in the past, to include increasing money on our Meals on Wheels program and bus passes, anything that we've asked for. And we understand that the dilemma that you have now. And we really appreciate all that you have done and will continue to do for us. First of all, Gary and I have talked, and we're putting together a fundraising program. Upper Shore will be mailing out campaign letters to churches and service organizations. Those letters should go out before the end of the month. He is also completing an application to Talbot County Trust to see if we can get some funding through that program as well. We're looking at other foundations to see if we can go in and ask them about any type of money they may have available that they may want to contribute. I have been going through former donors, list of former donors, and trying to cultivate some of those to see if they're willing to give us any additional funds to help defray some of the costs. And I had a brief meeting with our staff yesterday afternoon, and they want to take part in this also. So they're looking at some small fundraisers to include sub sale, bake sale, or whatever we can do to come up with a part of this money.
I feel bad that you all feel bad about the press. You don't write the articles, and it certainly nothing that you presented would indicate the kind of conclusion that the newspaper made about that meeting. So you know, the way I believe we left it was we wanted to have some more discussions in detail to see if we could find other ways to fund this shortage. But that as a backstop, the county has always been here for Meals on Wheels and other programs when we have to be. And it sounds like that effort yielded some fruit, and it will be successful, and that we will give part of the money but not all of the money, and that private citizens will give other pieces, and we certainly appreciate that. So it's not your fault that the paper chose to frame the debate the way they did, but I think it was worth a pause and a few discussions to figure out other ways to create the same result, and keep in mind our obligation to the people who benefit from the Meals on Wheels, which is certainly the most important members of our community. Really, the people who need it the most. And so thank you. I wish you weren't apologizing to us. Don't feel like we hold any grudge at all towards anyone who was in that meeting. Just the way in which the paper framed the article was a little unfair to us because we hadn't finished with the item yet. But thank you very much for doing what you're doing, and we appreciate all the help that will come from the community to assist us to make up for this shortage of funds.
Thank you.
And we certainly wish that they had mentioned this. I mean, you know we support you all, and it's unfortunate that they didn't mention the funds that we do give the Senior Center and the Meals on Wheels. And you know, we certainly did not know at the time the vote of the other two counties, so they really painted us like the bad stepchild. But I think that this is a perfect example of what is public-private partnerships, that it shouldn't all necessarily come down to general government taxpayer dollars, that when there are people who can either put efforts into fundraising or individuals who have the means to make charitable contributions, and we, as I said last week, we have so many of those. And of course the way that the quote came out in the paper, it made me sound like I was saying a bad thing, and I was saying we have charitable hearts in this community. Let's let them know of the need, and if they're able to step up, that's wonderful, and we thank them very much. And as Dirk said, you know, we're here as a backstop. I don't think that we should be the first ones to come to until other methods are exhausted. And I appreciate the efforts that you made to go back and look and see what all else you could do, and I'm supportive of making up the difference to make you guys whole.
Yep, and to add to that, Mrs. Brooke, I really appreciate you coming here, and like Mr. Bartlett said, it doesn't need an apology. It's very unfortunate that the paper did go that route, but you've done exactly what we've asked you to do. You've done a phenomenal job doing that, finding ways to come up with money, but we are here to help you, and we need the public to know that. But there are certain obligations we have and jobs to do, and you know, the way that come out it did make us look bad. So, but you know, that's some of the stuff of being an elected official and running with certain words. So I apologize to anybody that really took some of my comments to a different level, which wasn't meant to be. And you know, the good part of it is good things are going to come out of this because it is going to be funded. So, and we're going to find ways to find out how to do this for you.
It's unfortunate they're not here to hear this, so we hope that we can find a way to get that message to them.
Well, Ms. Brooks, if I can jump in, from what I understand from the previous conversations that we had with you and Mr. Gunther from the Upper Shore Aging, was that you have discovered some additional funding of approximately $14,000 to offset the $27,000 in your Title III cuts, and that you could apply that $14,000 to that shortage. And when I asked this council if we could find within our hearts to make up the additional amount, which would be $13,303, Madam Secretary. And the one thing that I want to just point out to the listening public, as Ms. Price said, the paper is not here, is the state funding formula that it seems that every time there's a funding formula from the state, Talbot County unfortunately gets the short end of the stick. This funding formula is 45% of your total elderly population is accounted, 45% of your low-income elderly population is taken into consideration, and then 10% of your low-income minority elderly population are taken into consideration. And because we don't have the population size, Mr. Leggett has walked out of a Montgomery County or a Baltimore City, in the way this formula is constructed, we tend to get cut more frequently than other counties, unfortunately. And as you and I talked, and Mr. Gunther and Mr. Hollis, and perhaps this is something we should have brought up with Mr. Sanderson, there needs to be a baseline funding for senior centers across the state, that that funding cannot go below that amount. I mean, with MACO, with MACO, once you set a level, with maintenance of effort, I mean to say, once you set a level with maintenance of effort, you can't go below that for your school funding. Well, the same should apply when it comes to your senior centers. If there's a basement level based on that population, based on the need of that particular county, they shouldn't underfund us because the need is still there. We still have elderly people in our community that still need our attention. So I take exception to the fact that every time these state formulas come into play, we get the low end of the stick. But I think through our conversation and our dialogue that we had, we're looking at different ways we can work together to address these shortages as we go down the road into the future. And I think we'll be able to do that, as Ms. Price said, with some private and public funding coming together, that we can be proactive and not reactive to these shortages, because we know it's going to come. It's just
we know it's as the writing is on the wall.
Right.
And so
unless we bust in more old people. So.
No comment.
Anyway. So, if what I'm saying is correct, Ms. Brooks, that you did find an additional $14,000 that you can offset the
We
27?
are 99.9% sure that
Okay.
we'll come up with the $14,000.
Amen. Council then, Mr. Pullen, I'm going to ask council to, I'm going to ask for a motion for council to appropriate $13,303 back to the senior center, Talbot County Senior Center, that will go towards the balance of the $27,000 shortage for the Meals on Wheels.
So we'd actually be taking it out of the contingency line item.
Ms. Lane is not here, but you've already talked with Ms. Lane, and that amount is there. Okay. So council, this will come out of contingency. Mr. Hollis has already checked with Ms. Lane.
Which fiscal year are we going to do it for? The next one or this one?
26, because it's July 1st.
Well, I will make that motion for $13,303 to come out of contingency to the Talbot Senior Center.
Okay, motion is made by Mrs. Price, seconded by Mr. Callahan for $13,303 come out of the FY16 contingency. That money will go over to the senior center to offset their shortage. Any further discussion on the motion?
Well, maybe we should just, since the newspaper did just get here, we just did have a little discussion that the senior center was able to find some money through some private donations and some fundraising efforts, which is what we asked them to do. We didn't say no, and we just said that we wanted to pause and see what type of fundraising could be done, and that we would be here as a backstop. And it worked perfectly, and it's coming out just about 50-50. And so we just want to remind the public and the newspaper that we did not say no, that we just wanted to have a couple of weeks to see what we could be done, and I think that was very successful, and it's a very positive outcome.
Yes.
Motion and a second.
Because no more discussion, okay. We have a motion, we have a second, no further discussion. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Ms. Williams? Aye. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Brooks, thank you very much.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure working with you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.